For more Magic the Gathering resources, check out my friends at paperchampion.net and Kitchen Table MTG. Hey everybody, this is Tao at The Forge, and today I'm going to be bringing you a deck that came as a request during my 200 subscriber event. So this deck is Grixis Ninjas. So Grixis Ninjas is a deck that MTG Goldfish put together with Saffron Olive. So, props out to Saffron Olive for doing that. This is his deck list that I couldn't find any way to really improve on it. Maybe with the new Ixalan cards, there might be something better to put in there, but I have to take some time and, kind of scour those cards and see if there's anything better than what he's got here. I don't think so, though. This is a pretty sweet deck list as it goes. So the basic premise of this is to basically play a whole bunch of creatures that have some form of evasion, usually with the form of flying, and then basically flash in our ninjas and basically be able to reuse their creatures enter the battlefield abilities. So we have some things like, before I go into it, it's actually kind of funny because a lot of it's very much like a blue-black fairies build, right? So if you already have like a blue-black fairies build, you could easily just switch it out and make it into this Grixis Ninjas build as well. And maybe even take out some of the red, and just, instead of Terminate, you could put in like Hero's Downfall or something like that, and just go blue-black like Demir Ninjas instead. Maybe that's something I'll work on, coming up. But anyway, so let's just start off with our creature package here. So the creatures start off with, let's see, Spellstutter Sprite. So with Spellstutter Sprite, we can use that to basically counter 1 mana or 2 mana spells. Usually we're just going to be doing 1 mana spells, right? But in Magic, you can tell there's lots of 1 mana spells like Spell Snare, Fatal Push, Inquisition, Path to Exile, Lightning Bolt. There's so many 1 mana spells like Duress and stuff like that it's actually helpful to be able to counter them out. But it also gives us a 1/1 flyer, and it has some form of evasion. So what we can do is use this to attack and then later ninjutsu it out. And then basically we can have another counter ahead of that later on again. Snapcaster Mage doesn't have evasion, but it does have flash. And basically what we can do is use Snapcaster to get a card back from our graveyard. Most people consider Snapcaster Mage to be an honorary fairy creature. So like a lot of the fairy builds will have actually Snapcaster Mage in them as well. So I think that he's actually a pretty good include. So this is actually a pretty, probably the money in the deck right here is in the 4 Snapcasters. Right, other creatures, we have 2 Vendillion Cliques. So there's a 3/1 flyer with some hand disruption attached to it. Basically, a Vendillion Clique is just a pain in the butt. So to be able to choose a card from the person's library and put it on the bottom, or from their hand and put it in the bottom of their library, that's a pain. Right, but anyway, so we use these guys, or even perhaps Venser, Shaper Savant. Right, so it enters the battlefield, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. So you can see they all have really good ETB triggers. So ETB stands for enter the battlefield triggers. And then when they attack, if they're not blocked, then what we can use is something like Ninja of the Deep Hours, probably the best ninja in the game. All right, so what happens is normally this would cost 4, but if we have an attacker that's not blocked, which is very often the case, then we can use ninjutsu and only pay 2, so 1 and a blue for it, and then we can swap it out the attacker. So you return that attacking creature to your hand, and you replace it with Ninja of the Deep Hours, and then that when it does damage, then you basically draw a card. Right, so Ninja of the Deep Hours is great because it gives us massive card advantage. Right, the other ninjas that we have, is only Higure, the Still Wind. So basically, when you can ninjutsu him in, he's 2 and 2 blue, so 4 total. But when he does combat damage to a player, then you can search your library for a ninja and put him back into your hand. Right, the other one is Throat Slitter. Right, so Throat Slitter is 4 and a black, or 2 and a black ninjutsu, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, destroy target non-black creature that player controls. So the way this generally works, though, is we get a creature out, let's say, for instance, we start off with a Spellstutter Sprite. So we counter something, and then next turn we attack with the Spellstutter Sprite, and then we can ninjutsu our Ninja of the Deep Hours in and draw a card. Right? So we do 2 damage. Okay, not a big deal. Our opponent swings back or whatever. And then next turn, we can ninjutsu. So we swing with Ninja of the Deep Hours. And then you can, for instance, get in a Throat Slitter. Right? So you ninjutsu a Throat Slitter in. Right? And that destroys one of their creatures. But that brings the Ninja of the Deep Hours back to your hand. And Ninja of the Deep Hours previously brought back a Spellstutter Sprite to your hand. Right? So, for instance, then you could maybe some other turn, right? Cast Venser Shaper Savant, right? Return a target spell or permanent to its owner's hand, right? Well, that's cool. And then next turn, your opponent casts something, out or whatever, or you attack with them, right? You bounce them back to your hand, get Ninja of the Deep Hours, draw a card. Next turn, cast Venser again, and then pop that creature back, or pop that thing back into their opponent's hand. So keep bouncing stuff back to their hand. It turns into, like, basically a really frustrating time for your opponent. Right, so the rest of our deck is mainly just removal and hand disruption, and a little bit of control. So we got some spell snares, so counter target spell with converted mana cost 2. You'd be, like, when I first saw this card, like, this isn't the first time I've seen this card, but when I was, like, a long time ago, when I first saw this card, I was like, yeah, what's so great about that? But you'd be surprised how many things cost 2. Like, even if you look here, like Snapcaster Mage, Spellstutter Sprite, Terminate, Tarmogoyf, like, there's so many things that cost 2, right? So, it's actually a pretty sweet card, right? So, Fatal Push is just some removal. 4 of Inquisition of Kozilek, so just some more hand disruption, and then 4 Lightning Bolts. And we also have a Remand. Okay, these 4 Terminates, they're so good, right? Like, you just, like, they're just so good. In some of the playtesting I did, like, Terminate just really comes in handy quite a bit. Just destroy any target creature, it can't be regenerated, is super, super handy, especially because it's cheap, and it's an instant, and it can also pave the way for a clear board so that we can attack and get a ninja in. Right? After that, we've got a pair of Cryptic Commands, pretty expensive add to the build as well, but so 2 Cryptic Commands allows us to basically return a permanent to its owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponent controls, or counter spells, or draw cards, or whatever. So it's like, basically, the saying goes that if you have Cryptic Command and you can play it, you can't lose that turn. Right, so, like, I'm sure that's not exactly true, but it's close to true. Cryptic Command is just so good to have. Alright, so let's get to the land. So our lands, we have 2 Creeping Tar Pits. Now, Creeping Tar Pit, at first I was like, well, it's expensive. I'm not sure if it's even really that good because it comes in tapped or whatever. But being able to get this 3/2 blue-black elemental, that especially because it can't be blocked, is super, super handy. Right, so being able to get in for 3 almost every turn and then possibly ninjutsuing it out, is actually a really good card to have. I wouldn't go for 4. I think 2 is the right amount. Okay, so the rest is a hodgepodge of just different mana. You could probably get, fool around with it a bit better and do different things, but this is working out pretty good. So we got 1 of Dragonskull Summit, 1 Drowned Catacombs, 2 Islands, 2 Mountains, 1 Mutavault, 4 Polluted Deltas, 4 Steam Vents, 4 Sulphur Falls, 1 Swamp, and 2 Watery Graves, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree. Alright, so anyways, let's go over to Sideboard. In the Sideboard, we've got basically a pretty good package to deal with a lot of different things. So, a couple Negates if we need some more counters. Sower of Temptation is actually pretty nice. I was actually able to win a battle against some Batterskulls using Sower of Temptation because I was able to steal the Sower, steal the Batterskull with the Sower, and then they had to basically waste a turn to return it back to their hand, which allowed me to kind of win the game. So Sower of Temptation is actually really good. Duress, if you need more hand disruption. Illness in the Ranks is basically going to help take care of creature tokens. Anger of the Gods for creature swarms. Slaughter Games basically This is actually kind of an interesting card. Can't be countered. Choose a non-land card name. Search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with that name and exile them. So if your opponent's playing like an Emrakul or something like that, or just, you know, anything that could really wreck you, you know, putting in slaughter games, like especially for any glass cannons, would just kind of destroy their game plan. Then we got a pair of Grafdigger's Cage and one Relic of Progenitus. So overall, like, it can handle a lot of different things. Usually, it's funny because my sideboards usually don't look like this. My sideboards are usually like 3-3-3-3-2 or something like that, or 4-4-4. So it'd be what, 4-4-4 and then 3 or something like that. Because I don't know, like having one Relic of Progenitus is nice, but the odds of drawing it are very slim. But still, I guess it's there if you need it. Just, you know, and you could, you know, maybe get lucky and get it just in case you need it. And you don't want to be honest, like in sideboarding with this deck, it's actually really hard to swap out a whole bunch of things. Like for instance, let's say I wanted to add, you know, 4 cards, like 2 Duresses and 2 Illness in the ranks. What are you going to take out for it? Right? Like, there's not a lot. Like, maybe in that case, like if you're dealing with some token strategy, maybe lightning bolts aren't that good, so maybe you get rid of lightning bolts or something like that. But, you know, overall, it's very difficult to make a lot of changes to this deck because it's like a very tight list. So anyways, that's the deck, and I'll have some gameplay videos coming up. I've got throughout the week. I've got some other plans for some other decks and other videos coming up. But if there's something you want to see, let me know. I'm currently on vacation right now. I'm still recovering from this damn cough that I've been having for like months and months. You know, and I've been pretty busy just trying to take care of stuff at home, but, you know, I do still want to make videos that you guys want to see, so let me know if there's something, you know, that you guys have in mind. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.